All right, we're moving on to our topic of the week, and I was going back and forth until the last minute trying to decide what I wanted this week's topic of the week to be. But something has come up several times in the past week, so I think it was my sign from the universe to bring it up for topic of the week this week. Let's talk a little bit about goal setting. There are a few different aspects of goal setting, or really two main aspects that I want to talk about. So, first is fundraising goal setting. Please, 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 I'm begging you, do not make your fundraising goal for the year just what your operating budget is. As we see here, it's really important to think ahead to the sustainability of your organization, as we see from things that are going on, with our economy, with, if your organization depends on federal funding. It is so important to be thinking about setting money aside for a rainy day. I know sometimes I work with a lot of small and growing organizations, so I know sometimes organizations, when they raise extra money, they think, oh my gosh, our donors, they don't want to hear that we have money left over. This is not the case, right? It's okay for you to raise extra money. In fact, it's imperative for you to raise extra money. You need to think about, how are we going to sustain our mission past this year? That being said, your operating budget and your fundraising goals have to depend on your strategic planning. And this brings me to point number 2. It is great and amazing and wonderful and important to think about all of the things that you want to do and all of the things that you want to accomplish. Once you're done thinking about that, before you set any plans in stone and before you do your goal setting, your near-term and long-term goal setting, the next thing that you have to do is think about what you have the capacity to do. Just because you want to do a bunch of things doesn't mean your organization, you as a development person, you as an executive director, you as a board, whoever's watching, have the capacity to do those things. And it's okay to say, we'd rather pick one thing and do it really well and improve ourselves on this one thing than try and throw the kitchen sink at it and see what sticks. It's a recipe for failure. It's a recipe for kind of losing your motivation, right? Because if you try too many things, first of all, we're already so overwhelmed as people who work in the nonprofit industry. There's already so much to do. Don't overload yourself with things that you don't have the capacity to do a good job on. Maybe those are things that you set for future goals, right? It's okay to say, oh, I want to do this, 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 and this, but I only really have the time and energy and manpower to focus on the first this fiscal year. If we succeed at the first this, then we can talk about expanding and moving on to this number 2 next fiscal year. So just my little reminder, when you're setting goals, don't forget to give yourself a little grace, to think about yourself, think about your organization, think about your staff. Don't just say, these are the things that we want to do and figure out how to do them, right? These are the things that we want to do. Let's figure out the timeline that we need to do this based on our capacity and do a lot of if-then planning. If we hit this milestone, then we can move on to the next milestone. So that's all I have to say about that. That's our topic of the week for this week. As always, if you've got a topic of the week, or again, an amazing celebration or some great news coming out of your organization, as always, send it to Wednesday@BeWhat'sGood.com. And you can find the show, you can find lots more content and information about my business, my clients. You can meet a lot of my clients at BeWhat'sGood.com, learn a little bit more about me. And of course, you can watch the show. You can find more content on Facebook and YouTube. The handle is at Be What's Good. I knew you would get it. and then, as I mentioned earlier, you can find me at LinkedIn, What's Good LLC, or look me up, Jayme Dingler. That's Jay, M as in Mary, E-J, me, Dingler. Also, don't forget to check out my book, The Itty Bitty Book of Nonprofit Fundraising. It is available on Amazon. It does make a really fantastic board gifts. Spoken with lots of organizations that give this out to their board members as they're having their conversation about what it means to be a fundraising board member, what the board member's role is in terms of fundraising. It has a lot of actionable ideas of how board members can participate in fundraising in your organization in a way that makes sense for them based on their availability, their social comfort, their talents and passions, and things that they're involved in the community. So I hope you'll check that out. We try to keep the costs low, so I'm not making a fortune off of it. I just think it's a useful tool. I'm certainly not retiring off of the proceeds from this book, but I hope you'll check it out anyway. Thank you so much for joining me once again for another What's Good Wednesday. I already can't wait to see what good news we have to share next week, so stay tuned for that. Have a great rest of your week and a great rest of your What's Good Wednesday. See you next time.